Hello and welcome to Too Many Movies, the podcast where we discuss DVDs, Blu-rays, and even the occasional VHS tape. I'm your host, Hal, and today we got another big, meaty episode for ya. So the last time I did a big boy of an episode, I talked about every single Lethal Weapon movie. Well, today I'm talking about every single Predator movie. So I figured we might as well just jump right into it because we have a lot to cover. So yeah, let's talk about every single Predator movie on this Blu-ray 4-pack that I happen to have. Now I don't remember how I came into owning this Blu-ray pack. I guess I might have bought it off of Amazon, but I don't know why, because I'm not really a huge Predator fan. I didn't grow up with it. I grew up knowing about Predator, but I never, knew Predator, on the same level as other movies, like Star Wars or Back to the Future. So, I mean, I guess I'm glad I watched through this. I watched through it for the first time, last year, just 'cause. But I figured since recently Prey came out, it would have been good to just go through these movies again, kind of get a sense of whether I actually want to keep this Blu-ray, because after going through it, I think I may have changed my outlook on owning it. So I'll talk more about that later. Let's read the back of this box here. 4-movie collection. Experience 4 times the terror with this killer collection of action-packed Predator movies. Okay then. Alright, so we'll start off with Predator 1. In Predator, Arnold Schwarzenegger wages an all-out war against an extraterrestrial that hunts humans for sport. Yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. That is Predator 1987, is Arnold Schwarzenegger and a bunch of other people fight this alien monster that kills people. It's literally as simple as they come. It's literally as simple. It's one of the simplest movie synopsises you can have, and I think it does a good job with that simple setup. So it's directed by John McTiernan, who directed Die Hard, and fun fact, got arrested for perjury in the 2000s. Well, he got charged with perjury in the 2000s, but he didn't go to jail until the 2010s. So he's been to jail, but for perjury, not for molesting a child or for sex acts or for killing someone, for perjury. How random. But anyway, that has nothing to do with Predator. So I think this is a good movie. I think it's a good action movie. I mean, it has some great action. It has some great effects, some great gore. The Predator itself is an awesome design. The costume, the alien that it actually looks like, it's cool. It is a very cool kind of movie. You watch it, you're just yeah, I'm in for something really, really dope, and I get that. It is a bit on the simplistic side, with that said. I think I remember I watched a review of this movie from Red Letter Media, and I think Jay or Jack or somebody had mentioned, this kind of movie, spawned a bunch of movies that they watched on Best of the Worst, and I think that's kind of a backhanded compliment, but it's true. After watching through a shit ton of Best of the Worst episodes, and after watching a ton of bad monster action movies too, you get the sense that yeah, a lot of movies are trying to be Predator, which is I feel like I probably would appreciate this movie a lot more if I had grown up with it. And that's not to say I didn't get anything out of it. I think it's a great movie. I think Predator is very fun for what it is. It's got a lot going up for it. It's got great gore. There's so many scenes of gore that I remember, Jesse Ventura's chest being blown open, or the hanging corpses, or Carl Weathers' arm being lasered through and then even though it like separates from him, the gun continues to shoot because the finger's pulled on the trigger. Like it's awesome stuff like that really make this movie. And the greatest handshake in cinematic history, when Arnold Schwarzenegger and Carl Weathers like do that fucking handshake at the beginning of the movie, and all their biceps just take up the entirety of the frame. Like, it's awesome. Like, yeah, it's an awesome action movie. I just think it also does have things that kind of amount to nothing. Like, there's a setup subplot where like Arnold realizes like, oh, Carl Weathers, you set us up. Or actually he says it like, Carl Weathers, you set us up. Eat your face. Put that cookie down. Which was a really weird performance decision on Arnold's part, but whatever. But anyway, it's like he realizes like they get set up and then nothing really happens with that subplot. And I get it, like, because that's not really what the movie's about. Like, you know that the movie's about like this alien hunter hunting these mercenaries. So I get why it went nowhere. Why set it up in the first place then if you're not going to do anything with it? Like, that's just all I'm wondering. And there's other things that like really go nowhere, like Anna's character, like this random woman character who's just there. Like, she doesn't really do anything. She's just kind of there. They never give her a badass moment. They never give her like a moment for why she's there. Like, she literally does not add anything to the movie that I remember. And it's just really strange that she's just in here and just does nothing. I guess it's maybe a case of, well, this was the 80s and not many movies knew how to write women, but like at the same time, I don't know, Aliens came out before this movie. Whatever. It's little nitpicks like this where I'm just like, yeah, I can see why this couldn't really gel with people, for the people who don't really like it. But I am of the opinion that this is still a good movie despite its flaws. Like, the last half hour of the movie is literally just Arnold Schwarzenegger and this alien just going at each other, and it's awesome. Like, I love the shots of Arnold just completely covered in mud and shit and just going into this like ballistic mode and being animalistic. It's awesome. It's like something out of the Northman. It's freaking awesome. And just the way they fight each other is so cool. Like, they're using their muscles, their biceps, they're fighting, but they're also using their wit and their survival skills. It's awesome. It's really, really, really cool. I feel like I'm just repeating myself at this point. Like, I could just like compliment it like, oh, the music is awesome. It is. It's from Alan Silvestri, the guy who did the music for Back to the Future. Like, he's a very talented composer and the music's awesome. But I feel like I'm repeating myself at this point. I'm saying like, oh, it's awesome. Oh, it's cool. Oh, it's awesome. Oh, it's cool. Like, that's all I really have to say. It's an awesome and cool movie. It's my favorite of the Predator franchise. And I think it's worth watching. Like, if some of you out there have never seen it before, please watch it. It is absolutely worth watching. It is absolutely the best of this franchise, no contest. Alright, with Predator out of the way, now on to Predator 2, Electric Boogaloo. Then, in Predator 2, Danny Glover battles the fearsome creature in the urban jungle of Los Angeles. Yeah, that pretty much happens. So Predator 2, the first time I watched it, I literally had no idea what to expect with it. I'm like, what the hell are they going to do with Predator 2? And I always got the sense from what little I heard of Predator 2 that it was seen as like kind of a bad sequel. I've seen it twice at this point, and I kind of like this movie. It is definitely not as good as Predator 1. So, one thing I will say, Predator 2, this time around, especially post-watching all Lethal Weapon movies, Predator 2 reminded me a lot of Lethal Weapon 2. So, it stars Danny Glover as this jaded cop. It takes place in Los Angeles. There's just all this crazy crime going on. it was like, I'm like watching this and I'm just like, where's Mel Gibson? Where's diplomatic immunity? It's like, it reminds me a lot of Lethal Weapon 2. It's just, I know there are huge differences, but I couldn't help but notice. Like, for example, Danny Glover is nothing like Murtaugh in this movie. Not only does he not have his iconic mustache, but he's kind of a reckless asshole. So he's pretty much Riggs in this movie, which is really funny, I thought. It has other things going for it, like Bill Paxton is in this movie, and he's a lot of fun. Gary Busey's in this, and he's pretty restrained for being Gary Busey, but he has some fun moments. There's a lot of good elements to this movie. So it takes place in the year 1997, and for no reason, even though it was made in 1990, like, it takes place 7 years in the future. Like, okay. And I like how, to show that it takes place in the future, like, every cop has a Blade Runner gun, just to be like, oh, this is the future. Like, it may look like shitty LA from 1990, but no, they got Blade Runner guns. That's how you know it's in the future. But it also has, like, other good elements to it. Like, the cinematography is nice. Like, it looks cool. Like, it has this, like, orangey glow to it because it's supposed to be, like, really hot during this time of year, like, in the movie. And as said in the original, like, the predators kind of go towards heat and that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of cool scenes. There's this drug kingpin named King Willie. His death rocks because it's literally just him approaching the predator, and then it just cuts to his screaming face decapitated. It's awesome. And it's just really, really fun and schlocky. Like, it's a dumb, stupid action sequel. And I guess really, as much as I do like it, kind of, it does have its fair share of problems. Like, probably one of its biggest problems is that it's paced pretty slowly. Like, the first half is pretty good. Like, it's literally just hopping between the cops and then the predator killing somebody and then this and that and this and that. And it's like, it's paced okay. But then, like, the second half of the movie is literally just Danny Glover chasing this predator through the streets of LA. And it's not as exciting as it sounds. Like, after the train scene, which is a nice train scene, don't get me wrong, reminded me a little of Faust, but I'm not going to go into Faust. But it is shot kind of weirdly because it has, like, these flashing lights, and I get it. Like, it's supposed to be like the subway. It's all shaky and whatnot, but I don't know. It could have been shot a little better. But then, like, Danny Glover's chasing this predator, and it just goes on for way too long. Gary Busey dies, I guess, in such a weird way where, like, he's like cut in half, but, like, his top half doesn't drop to the floor. It literally makes no sense. I don't understand it. There's a scene when Danny Glover is chasing the predator, and rather than taking the stairs, he climbs down an elevator shaft and risks getting smushed by the elevator. And it's literally just to set up him finding the predator's spaceship, which is conveniently located underneath this apartment building. And he wouldn't have been able to find it if he didn't fall down the hole in the elevator shaft and find this stupid spaceship. Also, there's, like, a reveal that one of the cops is pregnant, and then the predator doesn't kill her. Like, even though I was complimenting this movie, like, the more I say these things out loud, I'm just like, why was that in the movie? Like, what happened in this movie? Like, it was just so strange. Just, this movie just has things, and they just don't do anything with them. Like, there's this whole gang warfare subplot, and nothing comes of it. Like, there's these, like, gangs, and they, like, have several scenes, but then, like, in the second half of the movie, like, they're just nowhere to be found. It's like, okay, I guess that was a waste. I mean, it's the same thing as the setting up subplot in the first movie, but, like, I don't know, you still had Arnold and the mercenaries fight the predator, so, like, that subplot went somewhere. But, like, now, with that said, I have seen worse sequels, so maybe that's why I'm forgiving of this one, because there are cool things in it, and it's not, like, outright offensive to me. I mean, I'm not like a diehard Predator fan, so I guess maybe I just wouldn't find these things annoying. But I don't know. It's very weird. I will say the spaceship scene is really cool. Like, cool in a dumb way, because Danny Glover just finds this big hunking spaceship underground, and he's just like, oh, let me explore it, I guess. And it's literally just there, so then, like, you can see, like, the trophy room where the Predator keeps all the skulls, and you see a xenomorph skull, and I'm sure people back in 1990 were just like, whoa, it's a xenomorph, like, oh, it's a reference to Alien. Will the Alien and Predator fight each other? It's like, oh, someday. And then there's just, like, other stuff that I wanted to mention, like, there's that part where, like, Danny Glover kills the Predator, and then all these other Predators, like, show up, and he goes, okay, who's next? And I think that's funny because years ago I used that clip in a YTP tennis match I did, and it was for I forget what we called it officially, but, like, back in the day when I did YTPs with other YouTube poopers, we did this thing called, like, so for those of you unaware, there's this thing called YTP tennis, where, like, two creators, like, go back and forth with one video, and they kind of, like, add all their, like, little edits and remixes to it, YouTube poop style. But the way we did it was we just had, like, 7 or, like, 10 or 20 of us, like, it was like a game of telephone with, like, one video. It was really interesting. And to set up the next person who would make a video after mine, I did, like, okay, who's next? And the person after me was Too Many Movies alum, the great Mordo. So there you go, little fun fact for you. And I also just wanted to mention that Glover's last line in the movie is when he's like, don't worry, asshole, you'll get another chance. When, like, the feds come up to him and just like, hey, we wanted to research this guy, and he's like, oh, don't worry, you'll get another chance. And I just think that's funny because the next Predator movie didn't come out for, like, another 20 years. So it's like, oh yeah, they got another chance 20 years later, you fucking asshole. It's like, ugh. But, like, I guess that's a testament to how well this movie was, and that it wasn't very good. I have kind of a soft spot for it. Maybe it's just because I've seen worse and I'm more forgiving to this kind of movie, because maybe it is a little bit of, it reminds me of Lethal Weapon 2, but I did have fun with the movie. And when I think of, like, bad sequels, I can't say this is one of the worst ones I've ever seen. Like, I did have fun with it. Like, for what it was, this, like, raunchy LA crime movie that happens to have a space alien hunting people, it's like, it does its job well. It doesn't do it extraordinarily well, and I'm sure there are better movies out there. There are obviously better sequels, but I had fun. Like, I'm not gonna act like this is the worst thing I've seen. This is easily not the worst Predator sequel. So it's a good movie. I'd recommend it. That's about it for movies that I would recommend in the Predator franchise. So let's move on to the next Predator movie. Not Alien vs. Predator or Alien vs. Predator Requiem. This Blu-ray pack did not include any of that. So we're just gonna move on to Predators. Okay, moving on to Predators, the third Predator movie, not called Predator 3, but Predators, which is probably supposed to be a reference to Aliens, because there are multiple aliens in Aliens, so there are multiple Predators in Predators, even though there's, like, 3, maybe 4, I don't remember. But according to the box, in Predators, Adrian Brody leads a group of elite warriors on an alien planet targeted by a new predator breed. Yeah, sounds a lot more exciting than it actually is. Yeah, I'm just gonna say it. Predators, really boring. Just, like, really weird movie, first of all. The cast is stacked. Like, I'm surprised by how many actors I recognize are in Predators of all movies. Like, so Adrian Brody, Topher Grace, Alice Braga, Lawrence Fishburne, Walton Goggins, Danny Trejo, Mahershala Ali. Like, what? What are all these people doing in this movie? What are all these actors that I recognize from other thing doing in popular movie? I no understand. And it's directed by a guy named Nimrod. I'm sorry. I'm sure it's pronounced something else, and I'm sure it's like a family name or something, but I'm sorry. The guy's name is Nimrod. The movie reflects it because it's not a very good movie, so I can make that joke. So, Predators is definitely a movie that came out in 2010. Like, it feels like it's trying to be a lot of things. It's trying to recapture the magic of Predator. I feel like it's trying to be Avatar because it takes place in an alien jungle planet and there's all this technology. But like the CGI looks awful despite it only being like 10 years old. Like the effects in this movie are much worse than the effects in even the first two Predators. Like, yeah, even Predator 2, which probably had a smaller budget than Predator 1, but like even that had better effects than fucking this movie. Like, oh god, the CGI is just terrible, especially on like the alien dogs that they use. Like they just look like garbage. It's so bad. And just the acting is just so insistent. Like these actors are all trying to act really cool and epic. Like they're just like, oh, we're mercenaries. We got big guns. We're super cool. We raise our eyebrows to be like, oh, we're so cool. And yeah. It's like, ugh. I cannot buy Adrian Brody as like this tough badass wielding a giant machine gun and fighting predators. Like, that's not an Adrian Brody role. An Adrian Brody role is when he was that neurotic art critic or art guy in French Dispatch. Like, that's where he shines. Like, that he was great in that movie. But here, he's just like this, he feels like just weird and stilted. Like, literally, he had more expressions in fucking Brody Quest, a stupid YouTube video made as a joke. Adrian Brody has more character in that stupid joke of a video than he does in this movie. Like, that just tells you how lame this movie is. It's so lame. Even someone as, like, awesome as Lawrence Fishburne is lame in this movie. He just sucks. Like, I love Lawrence Fishburne. He's awesome in The Matrix. I even kind of liked him in Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, because, like, he seemed like he was acting in those movies. Like, he was just like, oh, I'm a character in these movies. It's like, here, he's just pretending to be quirky, and, like, he's been there a while, because he's, like, this guy that they find. He's, like, been there, like, years on this alien planet trying to fight these predators. But it just comes across as goofy, and not in the way that I think the filmmakers intended. It's just so strange. And so this movie came out in 2010, a little before, like, movies were, like, dependent on nostalgia baiting. So it is very strange seeing this movie kind of do that with, like, having one of the characters explain to the other characters the events of the first movie. Because, like, at one point, Alice Braga tells the other characters what happened in the first Predator movie, to be like, oh, like, so we know who these guys are. But, like, how does she know about the events of the first movie? Like, it's never really explained who she is as a character. Like, why does she know about the events of the first movie? Like, I just don't understand. Like, in the second movie, it's established that the government's trying to cover these guys up and research them themselves. So how does this woman know what they are? I just, like, how convenient. So then I guess she can explain it, and then us in the audience can be like, yo, I remember the first Predator. Whoa, this is so cool. It's like, wow, you're reminding me of the first Predator. Wish I was watching that then, you know? Like, why am I watching this then? If you're just going to remind me that this movie just has nothing to offer. It just nothing is being said. Nothing new is being said. Nothing new is being delivered. This is just the most lamest and just generic action movie, but also with predators. It's like, oh god, it's just so stupid. I wish I cared. Like, I wish I cared when the Predator and the Japanese Yakuza guy had a samurai sword and they fought each other. Like, that should be awesome. But it's not. Because it was filmed really badly. It's filmed at, like, night, and it's dark, where you can't fucking see anything, because big Hollywood movies don't know how to color grade, and so when something takes place at night, you literally can't fucking see. And then it's just filmed with handheld cameras, and so then I doubly can't see what's going on. It's like, ugh, why can't I enjoy this movie? Oh, dumbest fucking twist villain I've seen in a movie. Yeah, Topher Grace is like this wormy doctor guy, and then it's like revealed like, oh, he's the bad guy. He was a murderer the whole time. I think it implies that he helps the predators, but it's not really clarified very well. And it's just a dumb fucking twist. Like, one of the dumbest twist villains I've ever seen in a movie. Not as dumb as Lightyear, but still very dumb. And then Adrian Brody, he covers himself in mud at the end, so then he can hide from the predator, and like then he can like be all badass. And I get it. They only really did it just to reference the original. Just be like, oh, you remember the original when Arnold Schwarzenegger covered himself in mud? It's like, yeah, I do. And I get maybe you can explain like, oh, he covered himself in mud because when Alice Braga told him about the first movie, like he was like, oh, that's a good idea. I'll do that here. But then at the end when like Adrian Brody's going like, come on, do it. Like, how did he know that was what Arnold said exactly? Like, Alice Braga didn't know that. Why is he saying it here? Oh, because it's a reference to the first movie. Like, that's all it is. Like, I get it, guys. It's a reference. You're referencing the original because you think the original's so great. You want people to remember how great the original is. So you're just going to recycle plot elements from the original and not do anything new with it. Like, great. One of the most creatively bankrupt processes to make a movie. And you're doing it before this became a trend in cinemas. Great. Fucking fantastic. Ugh. I should feel like this movie is a lot cooler. It's not. I'm sure there's some hack Letterboxd users out there who are just like, oh, I liked it. I thought it was fun. I turned off my brain and I enjoyed it because it was fun. It's like, man, I wish I could find movies that are insufferable to sit through fun, but I can't. I find movies that are fun. So I guess that's on me for expecting movies to be fun and enjoyable, but I guess that's just something I have to live with. So yeah, Predators, not a good movie. Not something I would ever willingly watch again, ever. Okay, so to round off this 4-movie collection Blu-ray, but not the entirety of the Predator collection, don't worry, I'll talk about Prey. But to finish this off, we're going to talk about The Predator. So, according to the back of the box, finally in The Predator, Boyd Holbrook. Oh yeah, Boyd Holbrook, just as famous as Schwarzenegger and Glover and Brody. Yeah, good job, guys. Good job. Anyway, Boyd Holbrook discovers that the most lethal hunters in the universe are stronger, smarter, and deadlier than ever. Wrong. Like, you know, every single description thus far could actually describe the movie, but this is a fucking lie. If anything, the Predators are dumber, because they're searching for a little autistic boy, and they see him as the next step in the human evolution, and they want him to be their leader. Real plot stuff, by the way, in the movie The Predator. Yeah, this is the autism movie. Remember years ago when like people were just like, oh, the Predator has autism in it? Like, yeah, that's literally just the movie. Jacob Tremblay plays this horrific stereotype on autistic people where like he just says things and he's awkward and he just pretends that he's special. It's like, oh God, Hollywood, stop. Like, this is embarrassing. It's so terrible. I'm not even autistic and I'm cringing. Like, this is just so embarrassing that you're doing this. Oh God, I hope that kid doesn't get bullied mercilessly by me. So, if the autism wasn't bad enough, and it is bad, the movie's just insufferably boring. Like, it's so boring. Like, nothing interesting happens. It's just, first of all, the main character, super just boring. He just doesn't do anything cool. He understands how to work the Predator technology, even though he's only had it for like a day. Like, how did that work? Also, the little autistic boy can figure it out. Why? Why can humans all of a sudden understand Predator technology? I don't understand. I don't know why you want me to buy this movie. It's so insistent upon itself. And even worse than it being boring, the movie tries to be funny. And every time it tries to be funny, it's actually horrifically miserable. Like, I can't stand this movie's sense of humor. I can't stand the constant swearing and constant sex jokes. It's like, yeah, like, I would probably find this funny in a movie that actually told jokes, and the jokes were funny, and the actors delivered them in funny ways. Not this movie. It's just, it's so boring and blatant, and it's such an insufferable movie. Like, I could just say that. I'll just say that, because I really just have nothing else to add to this movie. Like, I wrote a bunch of notes on it, but, like, really, what are you going to get out of it? Like, you're just going to hear me rant about why these scenes are terrible. Like, why Olivia Munn is just such a terrible fucking actress. She fucking sucks, dude. She's, like, trying to be cool and epic and, like, be this smart scientist. Like, she cannot act to save her life. She is easily the worst actor in the movie. Oh, my God. She's so bad. It's like, why? Why is this movie so insufferable? Why is Jake Busey here? Oh, well, okay, actually, to be fair, Jake Busey's in this movie, the son of Gary Busey, and Jake plays a character named Keys, and Gary Busey's character was named Keys in Predator 2, so neat. That's about as invested in the movie as I was. I also liked the Predator dog, but it looked like shit. Like, the special effects were terrible. The CGI, I shit you not, was worse in this movie than it was in Predators 2010. Like, if you thought the CGI in Predators was bad, it is. It's even worse in this movie. Like, I don't know how that's possible, but, like, it looks terrible. Like, there's a shot of a spaceship coming out of a wormhole at, like, the beginning of the movie. It looks like dog shit, dude. It looks like a fucking video game from the 2000s. It is terrible. It's like, how is this approved for, like, a major Hollywood movie? Like, I don't understand how this was acceptable. I don't understand how Shane Black directed this movie. Like, isn't he supposed to be, like, this well-respected director? Like, don't people like his movies? Like, they even like Iron Man 3, even though Iron Man 3 is kind of boring. Like, why did he make this movie? I genuinely don't understand it. I don't understand it. I'm so mad. This movie's just so stupid and so boring. The climax is so boring. Alright, forget the notes. Like, forget it. It's just a bad movie. This is so bad and terrible, and it wasn't even funny bad. Like, that's what I was hoping for, that it would be entertainingly bad. And, like, I guess sometimes I was, like, fascinated by how terrible it was, but, like, not enough for me to really watch through it again. Like, just thinking about it is annoying me, and just think about having to revisit that. Like, think about it. The main villain shoots himself accidentally, and the movie doesn't address it, like, at all. Like, it doesn't make a joke about it. It doesn't make it tragic. Like, that's it. Like, he just shoots himself, and the movie does nothing. Like, nothing is brought up about how he fucking shoots himself in the head. Like, what a waste. Like, that's literally the movie in a nutshell. What a waste. You kill your villain in the most comedically stupid way, and you don't do anything about it. Like, you don't even make a joke about it. This movie that just has joke after joke after joke after terrible, terrible fucking joke, and terrible autism representation, and terrible Tourette's representation. and you don't do anything when the fucking main villain shoots himself. How is this movie real? How is this movie, like, acceptable? How did fucking 20th Century Fox look at this movie and be like, oh yeah, let's release this to the public, like, they'll enjoy it? It's not even ironically funny. Like, I know ironically funny movies. It's not this. You want to know an ironically funny movie? Dr. Alien. Watch Dr. Alien. That's a funny fucking movie. You know what? It's essentially The Predator, but better. But instead of autism, the alien in that movie just wants to fuck a college kid. Like, that's it. But it's much more entertaining than this movie. Oh, God. Just terrible, terrible fucking movie. I'm done talking about The Predator. I just need to move on to Prey. So, yeah, I should talk about Prey because, well, that's the reason why I talked about these Predator movies in the first place. That's the reason why I watched through all these Predator movies in the first place. So then I could have an excuse to talk about the Predator movies because Prey is out. Hey, might as well. But here's the kicker. So, for those of you who know, this is a podcast where I go through my movie collection, and occasionally I talk about movies that aren't in my movie collection, but I talk about movies that I would say, hey, would I eventually own this? Prey is Hulu exclusive, and I can't own a streaming exclusive movie on Blu-ray unless they actually put it on Blu-ray, but I don't think so, because it's a streaming exclusive thing. And a lot of people are complaining about that. They're just like, oh, why wasn't Prey put in theaters? Like, I didn't like Prey. I thought it was fucking boring. It was better than The Predator. I think it deserved to be in theaters more than The Predator, but, like, I don't know. I'm not pissed that it wasn't in theaters. Like, if anything, I'm glad I watched it on Hulu. It's like, I would not have enjoyed this in theaters. I guess some shots would have been cool. Here's the thing. No matter how much I have to say about Prey, no matter how, like, annoyed I sound with it, it is better than the last Predator movie. But it's insufferably boring. Like, even more boring than Predators, I'm afraid. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, people who like Prey, but it's a boring movie. It's literally just this insufferable main character going on an adventure trying to kill this predator. It's like, but the twist is it takes place in 1700s and the main characters are all Native Americans. It's like, okay, that doesn't really mean anything. Like I just don't like these characters. None of them are interesting. They're either really unlikable, like the main character who just insists that she's this really cool hunter, and then every time she tries to prove herself, she just fails spectacularly. It's like, all right, that's not really all that interesting. And all the side characters are just like, you know, sexist assholes who are just like, oh, you're a woman, you can't hunt. It's like, oh, great. Glad to know these are our, you know, likable side characters. Also, they're terrible actors. Just, oh God, they're just so terrible. I get that you hired Native American actors, and that's awesome. But please hire Native American actors who know how to act next time. Like, I can't believe I have to say that. Like, hire actors who know how to act. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like that'd be pretty standard for the go. But I guess not. I guess just hire whoever will say yes. Cool. Can I be in a movie next? Because I'm a terrible actor, but I could probably do it if these people can make it. I will say, it is cool that this is like a major movie and like it's not really starring any huge names. Like, it stars actors who have been in stuff, but there's no like huge AAA star in this movie. I guess, I mean, enough people are watching it, so that's cool. You don't have to depend on huge celebrities, I guess. But again, please hire people who know how to act next time. Also, please hire sound people who don't fucking put the Wilhelm scream in a movie. Like, at this point, it's become a meme. It's a punchline. Please stop putting it unironically in movies. Yeah, this movie has a Wilhelm scream. And look, I love the Wilhelm scream in something like Star Wars, because that's cool. But when it's 2022 and you're still putting it in movies unironically, it's kind of annoying, actually. Please stop doing it. So, yeah, the main character's not interesting. The story's pretty boring. Like, these French settlers kind of hijacked the movie in the second half, and they're evil white people who don't respect the Native Americans, and that's literally all their character is. It's like, okay. And then the Native American boys are just like, oh, you're a girl, you can't hunt. So, again, stereotypes. It's like, oh, great. What fascinating writing we have going on here. Great job, director of 10 Cloverfield Lane. And then the animal CGI is just so terrible. Like, and I get it. Like, you're not going to actually put a real bear in a movie, but just the bear looks fake, and not in like a way where I can forgive it. Like, it just looks terrible. It looks like it was made for like a Marvel TV show. Like, I don't know, I expect a little bit better CGI from the fucking Predator, but whatever. Like, even the Predator looks terrible. I'm sorry. I'm sure there are people who like this new design, but it looks like dog shit. It looks like a video game. It got worse as the movie progressed. Like, ironically, I think it looks worse at night, where, like, you know how movies will sometimes put CGI characters, like, at night, so then to cover up the flaws in the CGI. Ironically, I think the Predator actually looks worse at night than it did during the day, and it looks bad during the day. It's like, I don't know, like, just make it a puppet next time. Like, whatever. I'm no filmmaker, but I'm just saying it probably would have looked a lot better. Yeah, this is just a very insistent movie. It's just so stupid and so boring. I took a lot of notes during the movie, but, like, just remembering it all, I'm literally just saying the same thing over and over in my notes. This is a boring movie. I literally don't care for what's going on. And that's a shame, because it's like, this is an action movie. This is Predator 5. And I watched the first movie, and I really had a lot of fun. But now we're on the fifth movie, and I literally could not care less. It's like, it's just because, why would you keep going with this franchise if you're just not going to do anything cool with it? So, Prey, yeah, I know I didn't talk a lot about it, but I really have nothing else to say about it other than it was boring. It did not impress me in any way. I'm sure there's going to be people who very vehemently disagree with me. They're going to be like, no, this is a good movie because it stars Native American people. It's like, well, great. Enjoy your movie. I'm glad there are people out there who like it. I didn't. I thought it was boring. So now's the time where I come to the conclusion and I decide over whether I keep this Blu-ray pack and whether I want to keep Prey. So, well, unfortunately, Prey will probably not be on Blu-ray anytime soon or ever. And if it is, I will not own it because I did not like it. But as for the Predator 4 movie collection that I actually own, you know, when I first watched these movies last year, I kept this because I was like, hey, I had fun. I liked the first two movies, and maybe I could enjoy the third and fourth movies, like, on second rewatches, maybe, like, coming to terms with it and realizing they're just fun, stupid movies. No, that, if anything, these movies got worse on rewatch. Predators 1 and 2 are still great. Predators and The Predator, or Predators 3 and 4, fucking, just use numbers next time, you idiots. Predators and The Predator are not great movies. They got worse on rewatch. They're terrible. They're boring. They're just insufferable to sit through. So I don't want to sit through them again. So you know what? I'm getting rid of this Blu-ray pack. Because why would I keep movies that I don't want to ever watch ever again? I think it's a shame that I'm getting rid of it because I did like Predator and Predator 2, but I would honestly much rather own those movies on their own individual Blu-ray. So if I ever come into contact with those, I'm so getting those. But as for this movie pack, no bueno. It's gone. I'm not keeping it. Okay, I'd say that about does it. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for hearing me ramble about this franchise that I didn't grow up with, but now I've seen every movie in that said franchise, almost every single one of them twice. Prey I've only seen once, but I will never watch it again. I think someday I'll get to other franchises that I am actually familiar with, other than, Predator and Lethal Weapon. Obviously, these are franchises that I'm watching for, the first time, but, I feel like someday I should get to other franchises that I'm actually familiar with, and obviously I'll get to other movies in my collection. I got a whole heap of stuff planned, but those are to be saved for future episodes, and, well, we don't have time to discuss that right now. It's time to say goodbye, and I'll see you all next time, whenever that may be. Just